Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Now this, hopefully, is a nice big slab of English walnut. I say hopefully because it came at the end of May when I ordered it and I haven't opened it yet. It's a similar shape to the piece I think I ordered, so hopefully we'll be okay. But I ordered it because it was quite a good thickness. It's about 2 inches thick and it certainly seemed to have some very nice grain in it. So I suppose the best thing to do now is to open it and figure out what on earth we're going to do with it. Where shall I start? It definitely looks like walnut. Let's get this packing out the way. We can get a good look at it. Okay. Right, we've got a lot of interesting figure around this area, but we've also got a lot of bark inclusions. How deep does that go? Okay, that's not too bad on that side. We've got a lot of slope in from the live edge. Some knots around here. Oh. That come through a little bit there. And the rest is all pretty clean. That is very nice indeed. It's a good size. What size is it? Hang on. Okay, lengthwise, this piece is 135 centimeters, which is about 51 inches. Widthwise, on this end, about 33 centimeters, which is about 13 inches. And it's a bit deeper on this side, 36 centimeters, which is about 14 inches. So it's a good old size. I think it can hopefully make some very nice platters. Now, as I mentioned before, we've got a few splits and a few bark inclusions at that end. So I think today we're going to take the easy option and try and produce something nice from this end piece. Right, so if we turn this around, so you can all see what we're doing. I'll get my calipers out. Notice that I've modified them to put a pen on there so I can see the line nice and easily. And we'll see if we can get as large a circle as we can out of here and then get it cut out. Now there's a small split here and a couple on the edge there as well, so I'm going to come in a little bit. I'm not too worried about that one, but these on the edge, I would like to try and avoid those if possible. That's just purely from where it's dried. The other thing to bear in mind is the live edge on the back. We've got, if I just flip it over, quite a steep angle on this side and a shallow one on this one. So wherever I draw my circle, I should possibly offset it slightly more towards this side, just so I'm not limited to the actual shape of the piece I make from it. All right. So I'm just going to set the calipers slightly to this side. Get right up to that edge. Slightly in from there. Looks pretty good. Right, I'm just going to mark the centre there. Take off the safety cap and draw my circle. Excellent. That worked really well. Right, replace the cap so it doesn't dry out and we can get this cut out. Now the first problem I've got with this is that I can only get 12 inches of cut on my bandsaw, so I can't put this in the bandsaw yet. So I'm going to have to cut this off here and then I can take it over and trim the rest away. Now I've got 1,000,001 tools I could use to do a cut across there, but if I use my jigsaw, then I can actually cut out from this side and follow that curve round, meaning that I'm maximising the potential use of this wood in these areas. If I cut it off straight there, I'm only going to have small offcuts. If I keep this going all the way around and imagine there being another platter or something there, then I've got a reasonable size cut off that I can do something nice with. So we'll get this cut out. Haven't used this for ages. That was quite successful and quite a lot of fun as well. I think I'm going to do the rest with this as well. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, so there we have a nicely formed blank from a slab of English walnut. We'll get it started with a worm screw in there, get it on the lathe and get turning. Okay, we're all nice and safely on the lathe. We've got tailstock support at the start as usual. Now we're pretty well balanced. We can start turning this at about 1000 RPM. We're going to be starting off with a 3/8 inch ball gouge, and initially, although it is very, very flat, I'll just quickly clean off the surface and start working up the edge as well. I haven't quite decided what style of platter we're going to make with this yet, but I'm sure something will come to us in due course. Okay, we're nearly cutting all the way around. I must admit, I haven't turned English walnut for a while, and I'd completely forgotten how absolutely beautiful it is to turn. When I was only doing the roughest of cuts, with pull cuts, etc., but we've got a fantastic surface on it, and it's just so beautiful. Right, we've still got a few areas there we haven't touched yet, but while I was working up the sides, I'm starting to think about designs and shapes and patterns and looking at the wood and just seeing what's happening. And it's all fairly, I won't say plain, but there's nothing unique about this piece in terms of grain pattern that makes me want to do or go in a certain way. So we're going to have to make up our own kind of interest for this piece. And one way we can do it is how we form the base and what unique element we can give to that. Now, what I'm thinking currently is that I want to give this piece some feet. As opposed to have a normal rim on the base, I want to have 3 feet that it'll sit on like a pedestal. Now, it's not overly complex. You do need to give it some thought, and it does require a reasonable bit of sanding after we've formed them, but it's a lot of fun to do. So I think we're going to give that a go. Now the first thing I need to do is to decide where my feet are going to be. Now, for it to be nice and stable, we probably want them to be around that area, somewhere between those 2 marks. Okay, so what we would do in this case is take out the wood this side and the wood this side, leaving us a nice little rim in the middle. Now, because people are going to want to look at the feet and pick it up, etc., I don't want to put a recess in there. I need a tenon. So as we're removing the wood from this side in towards the center, we're going to leave wood in the middle that we're going to be using to hold the piece when we turn it around. At the end, we've got to flip it back over and remove it, but that's a fairly simple process. So what I'm going to do now is just quickly mark up where this tenon is going to be, which is around there. 2 inches, that'll be fine. Right, so I'm going to remove the wood this side and this side, but stop before I get there, hopefully. Okay, right, that's pretty much the same on both sides, which is good. We can do some fine work on it once we've formed the feet, but that's okay to be left as it is. I'll bring the tailstock support back in and we'll form the rest of the outside of the bowl. Okay, that shape's coming along nicely. A bit more work to do to get it to the top, but I'm happy with it so far. I'm just going to quickly sharpen up again so I can get some finer cuts towards the end, especially on this end grain here. But yeah, happy. Okay, I was concentrating there mainly, ignore that catch, I was concentrating mainly on getting the angle from this edge correct. I think it just needs a little bit more wood removing there, but I'm loving this kind of slow curve coming up to the top. Now I am just thinking now of just folding that over towards into the edge. I think that'll be a nice little detail that just give this piece, that will just make this piece look a little bit classier than normal. Right, so I'll worry about that little bit there, just get a small radius or a bit more of a radius on there, and then we'll start turning this over. Okay, I'm really happy with that. That little folding over that edge has given it such a wonderful soft look to it. And it really shows off the grain in this walnut to its best, I think. Right, what should we do now? Right, I think it's time for us to start making the feet. So I'll go and grab what I need for that, and I'll see you back in a second. Okay, we're all ready to start making the feet, but I just want to take a couple of passes over this surface here with my ball gouge, just to clean up that surface to make sure everything is okay underneath before we proceed. Yep, no problems. Right, I'm just going to grab my pen and draw a line right in the middle of where the foot's going to be. Okay, now we're going to make 3 feet on this. The reason for 3 is because no matter what happens in the future, if the wood moves at all, warps, distorts in the temperature, humidity, etc., with 3 feet it'll never wobble. So 3 is the golden number in this instance. Now we've got to map out where each foot's going to be. And again from my school geometry lessons, it should be a case of initially drawing a line through the center of this piece. We've got a nice little hole in the middle there. That mark there is going to be one of the feet. So what we'll do now is set our compass, calipers, whatever you want to call them, on the center of that point and into the middle. So that's the radius. I'm going to put a little scratch there. I'm going to put a little mark on that because I can't really see that very well. Right, that's 1 foot. And the last foot will be from there again. Just a little scratch there. Right, put a cross through that one because that's not it. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. They're all equally far apart, and that is where our feet are going to be. Now, next decision we've got to make is how wide do we want them? Now, what I usually do is grab a coin, 10 pence. That looks about right. I'm sorry it's not any more I'm sorry it's not any more scientific than this. I'll put it across the center and just put a line there. Right, that's the width of 1 foot. That's the width of the next foot. And there's the last one. So what we're going to do now is remove the wood from in between the 3 feet. Okay, I decided to speed things up a little bit at the start. Okay, as you can see, that took down those edges nice and quickly, but it has left us with possibly needing to take this outside line just down just a fraction. So I'll just quickly do that now, and then we'll tidy up the rest of the feet. The idea is that if we can just get this inside line slightly higher this way than this inside line, then when we are blending across, it's going to look as if that curve continues in towards the center. In case you're interested, this is the 3/8 inch bowl gouge made by Record Power, and it has the unique Pro Comfort handle. And it's 2 exactly the same as this, except customized with my name, that were won by 2 lucky subscribers in our last giveaway. I do have another one which I want to give away as a prize on our website, but I can't find it. You mean this one? Really helped me look. It was just on the workbench the whole time. Really? Okay, well that's perfect. All I have to do now is set up the website. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Now I've found that ball gouge, I can get started setting up a pop-up on my home page. And with Squarespace, it really is this simple. I just choose the template, drag in the text and any images we want to use, and in just a few clicks, I've got a professional looking sign-up form ready to go. This one invites visitors to join my mailing list for the chance to win a prize, but you could use the same tools for discounts, promotions, or important updates. What I love is how seamlessly Squarespace ties marketing into your site. You've got pop-ups, banners, and email campaigns built right in, and powerful analytics to show you what's working. No extra software, no coding, just tools that make growing your audience easy. So if you'd like to try it yourself, head to www.squarespace.com/Mike Holton for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, use the code Mike Holton for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. I think that is going to be perfect. Right, I'm going to deal the rest during sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it and I'll bring you back when we're done. Okay, all done. I must admit I'm trying to find new and more exciting ways to make sanding hard for myself. The sanding in this area here I'm going to have another go at when we've turned it around, when we've finished it and we've taken off the tenon, because this gap here is just a fraction smaller than my 2-inch sanding discs, and it's okay, but it's not perfect. So when we turn it around to finish it off, when I've turned that away, I'll give the bottom another quick sanding. But apart from that, it went okay. So on with a bit of isopropyl to clean out the grooves and reveal why I love walnut so much. What a sudden change. The colours in this wood are just, well, they never disappoint. They're always mind-blowing. Always has such a wonderful sheen to it. Well, a bit of ripple as well there. Didn't expect that. Right, we'll let this dry and then come back on with a sealer, I think. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so on with our usual blonde shellac sealer. If you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things. And if you could share it as well, that would be amazing. Doesn't cost you anything, but it makes a great deal of difference to us. Applying with a brush so I can get a nice even covering over the whole piece. When this dries, we're going to go on with an abrasive pad just to cut back the surface, make sure there's no raised grain, and then we're going to try a new finish which has been recommended by a viewer. Right, I'll bring you back when I've cut it back and we're applying the final finish. Okay, that's been cut back, and this is the stuff we're going to try. Furniture Clinic Wood and Wax Polish. Feeds, protects and enhances the natural beauty of wood. Contains beeswax, carnauba wax and infused with orange oil. Does not contain silicates. Helps prevent drying and deterioration. I should try it on my skin. Right, instructions: shake well, pre-test on unseen area. That's not going to happen. Apply liberally using a cloth and rub into the wood following the direction of the grain. Leave for 20 minutes. Polish with soft cloth to shine. Reapply when the wood begins to look faded or dry, or once every 6 months. Okay, now this was recommended as an alternative to Howard feed and wax, so I'll look for trying anything, especially if it's been recommended by one of you guys. It's actually cheaper than Howard feed and wax as well in the UK. Alright, so apply liberally. That looks liberalish in the direction of the grain. Certainly smells nice. Okay, right, I'll give this 20 minutes, then buff it in, and I'll bring you guys back when we've turned this around and start to hollow out. But so far, so good. Okay, we've turned it round, tailstock in as usual. Now, if you were watching me make those feet, etc., and thinking to yourself, I could never do that, then please bear one thing in mind. That's the third time in my entire life I've ever made feet on a bowl. So it's not a question of I don't think I can do it. The only way you ever know is if you give it a go. Right, we're going to carry on turning at about 1000 RPM. We'll flatten off this surface, make sure there's no problems, and then we'll start hollowing out. Okay, all nice and simple so far. No real issues at all. The problem's going to come when we try and replicate the overhang we put on the outside on the inside. That's going to be a little tricky. Fun to sand, but I'm sure we'll find a way somehow. Right, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to set a width for this top edge. I do want it quite narrow, so probably about 1/4 of an inch, something like that, I think. I'll just draw that in so I know where I am. I think that's going to be nice. I don't want to go too thick because I want this to be quite a delicate feeling bowl. So right, we'll carry on. Okay, we're right up on that edge. We've got a reasonable thickness there, so I just need to come in here and just put in this small overhang. The trouble is, I can't do it with the tailstock there, so this has got to come away, and then we can carry on. Okay, I like that. That's done well. Right, we can start hollowing out the rest of it now. Okay, it's looking good. We are nearly there, but I just want to go down by about 1/4 of an inch across the whole piece, and then that should be done. Okay, excellent. Right, I'm going to set up for sanding. I'll let you watch a bit of it, and I'll bring you back when we're done. Okay, sanding went pretty well actually. These were a little bit tricky, but we got there in the end. So on again with isopropyl alcohol, just to wipe off any of the dust in the grain, and just give us a first look at this amazing walnut. When I was sanding, I just put a small radius over onto the lip, so it looks like that's going all the way around now, which I like. Okay, right, we'll let this dry, and then we'll come back on with a sealer. Okay, that's all nice and dry. So we can go on again with the shellac based sealer. Now the other side I went on with an abrasive pad to cut this back. I don't need to on this side because I haven't got any feet to get in the way. So I can go on with an abrasive paste. So we'll let this dry, and then we'll come back and do that. Oh, there's a bit. Okay, that's all nice and dry, so we're going to go on with the Northern Grit abrasive paste. Now you apply this or rub it in with the machine spinning, so you need a pair of safety glasses or something like that, just something to help stop the grit getting in your eyes. Put a nice healthy amount on it. The way this stuff works is that it's got a very, very fine abrasive powder inside, and as the machine's spinning, that powder refines the surface. This was originally sanded up to 320 grit, and after the abrasive paste has been applied, it should come out somewhere at about 1000 grit, or an equivalent to. Start off with machine slow to start off with. Just apply a gentle pressure. We can just increase the speed a little bit and carry on. That is really quite beautiful. Now that by itself would generally be good enough for a final finish, but we are going to go on again with what we used on the other side, just wiping off any excess with the isopropyl. I'll just let this evaporate off, and then we'll come back on with the polish. Okay, all evaporated, so we're going to go on again with the Furniture Clinic wood and wax polish. If you fancy giving it a try, I'll put a link in the description. I just picked it up from Amazon, so it's relatively easy. Come on, it's relatively easy to get hold of. Okay, that's looking so nice. Some chatoyance in there as well, especially in these ripples here. Hope you can see that. Right, I'll let this sit for 20 minutes, then come back and buff it up, and then get out my coal jaws. I think we'll turn this round and remove the tenon and finish off the base. Okay, coal jaws are in place, and the idea is these have a slight dovetail on them, so hopefully with our piece having a similar shape, it'll fit over there, and we can just expand those jaws into it. That's the idea anyway. Okay, that seems fairly true. Let's give it one last turn. I don't want to put too much pressure on it. Okay, let's bring the tailstock up. Okay, if it's all in line, there we go. If it's all in line, our point there will go directly into the hole, and it does. So I'm not going to put too much pressure on this, just a very gentle squeeze. Lock it off, and now we can turn away the tenon very carefully. I'm not going to turn it all the way away, just enough for me to sand this base properly, and then at the end we'll get rid of the little nib that's left by hand. Okay, right, that little nib there is our safety net, so we can sand this base properly and then get a finish on it. Our cold jaws are designed to keep it safe, but I have had pieces come off cold jaws before, so we're not going to take any chances. I'll get this sanded, clean up the base, and then I'll bring you back and we can take a final look at what we've done. Well, there we go. A walnut platter, or shallow bowl, whatever you want to call it. And I am incredibly happy the way this one came out. The feet were time consuming, but an awful lot of fun to do. As I mentioned earlier on, this is only my third ever attempt at putting feet, so a little bit more refinement is required, but they are just so much fun to make. The wood itself is just, well, it's just beautiful. We've got a few ripples down there which I didn't expect. But apart from that, the colours and the difference between the sapwood and the heartwood are just absolutely beautiful. When you're working on a fairly blank shape to start off with, sometimes it can be a little bit of a struggle to come up with a design for the piece. But this kind of slow curve we've got on the outside now is really, really quite appealing. Well, it is to me anyway, and the finish we've managed to get on it is really quite beautiful. I must say a special thank you to the gentleman who recommended the Furniture Clinic wood and wax polish. I'm so sorry. I should have made a note of your name and I didn't, and I can't find the original comments, so I apologise for that, but thank you very much indeed anyway. If you are interested and want to give it a go, I'll put a link in the description below to where you can pick this up on Amazon, just in case you want to have a look at it. I'd also like to say a massive thank you to Christopher and Craig for supporting the channel this week through buying me a coffee. If you want to help support the channel, then there is a link at the end and in the description as well. All funds raised are put directly back into the channel. I don't filter anything off for myself. Everything's invested back into what we do. If you want to win a bowl gouge, then please head over to mikeholton.co.uk and sign up for the newsletter. And a special thank you to Squarespace for once again sponsoring this video. If you have enjoyed it, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe and all the usual things, and if you could share it as well, then that would be absolutely fantastic. But apart from that, thank you very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.